Imagine having a bank account bigger than most countries in GDP and still being told, sorry, you can't buy this house. Jeff Bezos has $194 billion. Elon Musk has $219 billion. But there are properties on this planet worth $70 billion that they could never, ever own. Not because they can't afford them, but because the law literally forbids it. This is the ultimate reality check for the ultra-wealthy. These are houses even billionaires can't afford. You've seen the headlines. $210 million for a Malibu estate. $238 million for a Miami penthouse. Billionaires buying houses like most people buy cars. But what if I told you there are properties so exclusive that money becomes completely worthless? Places where your credit score doesn't matter, your net worth is irrelevant, and your billions are just numbers on a screen. We're talking about houses protected by laws older than America itself. Properties guarded by international treaties. Places where even suggesting a purchase could literally land you in prison. These aren't just expensive houses. These are monuments to the one thing money can't buy: the law. Let's start with the Big Daddy, the Forbidden City in Beijing. Estimated value? $70 billion. That's more than the GDP of Luxembourg. This place has 8,886 rooms. Let that sink in. Nearly 9,000 rooms in a single complex. It covers 720,000 square meters. For perspective, that's 99 football fields of pure imperial luxury. But here's the kicker. It generates $77 million per year just from tourism. With 19.3 million visitors annually, this place is literally a money printing machine. So why can't Jeff Bezos just write a check? Because in 1982, China passed the Cultural Relics Protection Law. This thing doesn't mess around. The Forbidden City is designated as a national priority protected site with, and I quote, absolute state ownership. What does that mean? It means suggesting you want to buy it would be like telling the Chinese government you want to purchase their national soul. Plus, they've been strengthening these laws through 2024. So this isn't getting easier. It's getting harder. Now let's talk about a house where even the person living there can't sell it. Buckingham Palace, worth $6.3 billion, 775 rooms, and completely, utterly, legally impossible to buy. Here's the plot twist that would blow your mind. King Charles himself can't sell this place. The King of England cannot sell his own house. Why? Because of something called the Crown Estate Act of 1961. This law basically says Buckingham Palace isn't owned by the king personally. It's owned by the Crown as an institution. Think of it like this. The king is the CEO, but he doesn't own the company. The palace generates £1.766 billion annually for the UK economy. But Charles can't touch that money or sell the building. The Crown Estate Act requires Treasury consent for any sale. And here's the beautiful part. The Treasury would never consent because selling Buckingham Palace would be political suicide. No British government would survive proposing to sell the Queen's house to some American tech billionaire. Can you imagine the headlines? Breaking: Elon Musk buys Buckingham Palace, installs Tesla charging station in throne room. But wait, it gets crazier. The Palace of Versailles is worth $50.7 billion. That's 2,300 rooms of pure French opulence. Marie Antoinette literally lived here before. Well, you know how that ended, and that's exactly why you can't buy it. In 1794, right after chopping off Marie Antoinette's head, the French government passed a decree stating Versailles will not be sold, but placed under the care of the Republic for the public good. We're never making the mistake of letting rich people own symbols of power again. This isn't just some old law they forgot about. The French reinforced it with UNESCO World Heritage status in 1979. Breaking these laws carries up to 7 years in prison and 100,000 euros in fines. Think about that. You could have $50 billion in cash, offer it to France for Versailles, and they'd literally arrest you for the suggestion. But the French are still making money off this decision. Versailles generates over 100 million euros annually from its 10+ million visitors. They're making more money by not selling it than most billionaires make from their investments. Now, let's talk about trying to buy a house from God. The Vatican's Apostolic Palace, the Sistine Chapel. These aren't just expensive, they're theologically impossible to purchase. The Vatican receives 6.76 million visitors annually, generating around $120 million in revenue. That's a pretty successful business model for a place that's supposedly not about money. But here's the insane part. You can't buy Vatican property because the Vatican isn't just a religious institution, it's a sovereign nation. The 1929 Lateran Treaty with Italy gives the Vatican full ownership, exclusive dominion, and sovereign authority over its territory. Article 4 specifically forbids any intervention therein on the part of the Italian government. So even if the Pope wanted to sell, which he doesn't, he literally can't. It would require rewriting international law and probably starting a theological crisis that would affect 1.2 billion Catholics worldwide. Imagine explaining to every Catholic on earth why you think you deserve to own the Sistine Chapel. The Japanese Imperial Palace sits on 3.41 square kilometers in central Tokyo. The land alone is worth $12 billion. That's before you count the buildings. But here's something that'll blow your mind. This palace is literally the center point from which all distances in Japan are measured. Every GPS coordinate, every road sign, every map reference starts from this palace. It's not just a house, it's the geographic heart of an entire nation. Article 88 of Japan's constitution states, all property of the imperial household belongs to the state. The imperial house economy law requires approval from the Diet in Japan's parliament, and it can terminate for any property transfers. So buying this place would require convincing the Japanese government to sell their constitutional center. That's like asking America to sell the White House, Capitol Building, and Supreme Court all at once. And that's not even the craziest part. The palace has survived earthquakes, World War II bombing, and the complete transformation of Japan from feudal society to modern superpower. It's outlasted empires. Let's put this in perspective. In 2024, the most expensive private property purchase was James Jannard's $210 million Malibu estate. That's the record. The Forbidden City is worth $70 billion. That's 333 times more expensive than the most expensive house ever sold to a private buyer. Buckingham Palace at $6.3 billion is 30 times more expensive than any private purchase. Even if Jeff Bezos liquidated his entire fortune, he'd still be $70 billion short of the Forbidden City's theoretical value. But here's the real question. What does this tell us about power? These buildings have survived kings, revolutions, world wars, and economic crashes. They've watched countless billionaires come and go. They'll probably still be standing when today's tech moguls are forgotten footnotes in history books. Money talks, but apparently, history talks louder. These properties aren't just protected by single laws. They're surrounded by legal fortresses. UNESCO World Heritage Convention, constitutional protections, international treaties, religious sovereignty. It's like playing a video game where the final boss has infinite health and every cheat code has been disabled. The UNESCO World Heritage Convention requires 194 countries to protect these sites. Breaking these obligations doesn't just mean breaking national law, it means breaking international law. Germany's Cultural Property Protection Act carries 7 years in prison for heritage violations. France has similar penalties. China's laws are even stricter. 30 U.S. states have passed 54 bills restricting foreign property ownership since 2021. Canada has a complete foreign buyer ban through 2027. The world is moving toward more restrictions, not fewer. So, the billionaire real estate party? It's actually ending. Here's the beautiful irony. These unbuyable properties make more money than most billionaire investments. Versailles, €100 million annually. Vatican Museums, $120 million. The Forbidden City, $77 million. Buckingham Palace contributes £1.766 billion to the UK economy. They're generating these returns while serving millions of people, preserving culture, and maintaining historical integrity. Meanwhile, private luxury estates mostly just sit there. So who's really winning this game? So the next time you see Jeff Bezos drop $165 million on a mansion, or Elon buy another compound, remember this. There are houses on this planet that make their purchases look like buying a candy bar. These properties represent something money literally cannot touch. The collective decision by humanity to preserve certain things for everyone rather than sell them to anyone. The Forbidden City has been forbidden for over 500 years. Buckingham Palace has housed British royalty for 300 years. Versailles has survived revolution, war, and countless billionaires who thought they could buy anything. They're not just houses. They're reminders that some things are bigger than wealth. If this completely changed how you think about wealth and power, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Which property blew your mind the most? And if you're somehow a secret billionaire watching this, sorry, But the Pope's house is still off limits. Maybe try buying an island instead. Drop a like if this made you feel better about your own housing situation. And I'll see you in the next one where we'll probably find more ways to humble billionaires. Because apparently, that's more fun than we thought.